Which one's easier? I think they both can make a lot of money if you master it. And the way that you master it successfully is by going all in on that one avenue. I think both have their perks. They're both good. Figure out the people that are doing it well, get in contact with them, model what they're doing. All right. So today we have Cameron. He's out in Seattle, Washington. Cameron, thanks for jumping on. If you can give us maybe like a 20-second snippet of kind of where you're at in business to catch the viewers and myself up to speed, and then we can jump into the Q&As and see how I can help.
Okay. My name is Cameron Ennis, 28 years old. I just started my company about 9 months ago or 10 months ago. We're not quite out of the fiscal year yet. Yeah, so we did during the spring rush, which is coming up here in about a month or two, it was 55,000 in QuickBooks with around like 20 clients, 24 clients. We had lost a few. That's like a long story. We'll go into that, but we had lost like a couple. It was like 3 or 4 they had like 5 yards total, but we did around like 55,000. We had a mix of commercial and residential. And yeah, so that was that. We were doing like some cash, some checks. So we had maybe made like 20,000 cash and checks. So like total, I would say we've done like 75 to 80K. We were doing it out of our Jeep Cherokee. And within like the first month, we bought a truck, and then we had like bought these uniforms, and then bought a bunch of equipment and bought the truck, bought the equipment. That's really been it.
Dude, that's awesome. First year doing roughly 75,000. And I mean, only 9 months in, you guys are crushing it. Whatever you're doing, you're definitely crushing it. So kudos to you. Keep up the good work. Where do you want to take this? Like, what's the long-term goal? What's the 5-year, 10-year goal for Trustworthy? Is it Trustworthy Lawns or LLC?
So I do want to be just trustworthy, kind of like Augusta, it's just Augusta. And then he has like his tagline, but it's right now it's Trustworthy Landscape. Yeah.
Cool. So what's the long-term goal for that?
Like long-term like 5-year goal is, so we kind of recently did that, maybe like a couple of weeks ago, because this is like long-winded, but a couple of weeks ago we kind of set this goal of within 5 years we want to be at 3 million. And that was just based off of like how things are kind of going. So we're a minority company, right, out of the state of Washington. And so since we're a minority company, we applied for like the certification to basically be certified with the state. And so now that we're certified, big prime contractors who are like bidding like highway jobs and stuff like that, can reach out to us to subcontract us to like meet their quotas for like DBE and stuff like that. And so we've been getting a lot of like project bids for planting, and so like a lot of them. And so recently we just had a bid that we sent out for like 16,000 plants, which is, I mean, it's way out of our comfort zone, because we're small, like we're 2 guys and 1 truck. But it's like basically it's there to help you like excel and grow, this program. And so the bid was for like 200,000 with like, I think it has like 20,000 or 30,000 in profit wrapped into it. And so gross, we want to be at 3 million, but that's with a mixture of project based off of the bids, and then residential and commercial.
Yeah.
So that's kind of just how we set that goal.
Cool. That's awesome, man. That's a really good goal. And that's good that you have a clear vision and pathway of where you want to go. So that will help me kind of navigate with the questions and answers of like, your question. So what do you think, Cameron, right now, doing roughly 75K last year, what do you think the biggest struggle, hurdle, or bottleneck is for you and your business that hopefully I can help you out with?
I mean, this winter has been dead, right? It's like been dead. I guess I kind of just want to pick your brain on that and see like, winter services is good here, but for instance, like we just had, as in it gets really cold and the beds need maintenance, and so it would be something I would be able to provide, but I don't know. I guess you could kind of like help me out with that, is do I want to, target commercial where it's year-round contracts and my guys are doing bed maintenance, like year-round contracts where the guys will do bed maintenance and then they'll do the mowing and then they'll do the trimming and the shrubbing? Or do I just want to do winter services for residential where, we kind of do the same thing? Yeah, so I guess you could kind of just shoot some stuff at me with that, because it's been
Yeah.
really dead.
Good question. So my question to that would be, do you want to build one behemoth big company that does 3 million, that has, a couple operations managers, maybe you at the top, right? A big one location kind of behemoth? Or are you wanting to silo multiple smaller locations that are ran without you, but you're still at the maybe main hub or main location? How are you going to get to 3 million?
I would want one location with three different sectors, which would be like a residential sector where there's however many crews there is to handle the work, and then a commercial sector where we have our commercial sites, and then the project based, which would just be strictly projects and
Got it. Okay.
plantings and stuff like that.
Yeah, so that makes sense. So if I were you, I would tap into both. I would do winter services for residential.
Okay.
Like you said, it's good. It's not
Mhm.
great and it's not bad. It's good. It creates some income, right, in the winter.
Yeah.
And then I would also lean into a lot of the commercial projects, the commercial bids, because those ideally are typically 12-month contracts.
Mm.
They're a set monthly income. So what you can do is, let's say you build a business like 50% commercial, 50% residential. In the wintertime of December, January, February, the commercial properties that you have income coming in can help offset the other ones,
Mhm.
especially if you do three kind of departments under one massive business of a 3 million location. I think that would be the ideal. So trying to keep that ratio maybe close to probably 50-50 would be ideal. I would say at the very least, you probably want at least probably a quarter, like at the very minimum, probably a quarter of your properties to be commercial, because you just need enough income coming in from
Right.
the commercial properties to pay all of your other bills when the residential just like drops off
Right.
in the wintertime, So
Okay. That sounds like a good plan. Yeah, it's tough because, so I mean, Seattle's weird with snow. Like last year we didn't get much, but then just recently, like last week and this week, we got in between, I think I want to say like 4 to 9 inches, right? And it's like
wow.
that's unusual for February, in my like opinion. It's weird because it's like, oh, we're in the beds but they're frozen and now there's snow coming down. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's just a funky one to play with.
Yeah, it is. We have a little bit similarity down here in Texas, North Texas. There's once in a while that we'll get a hard freeze or where it will actually kind of snow once
Hmm.
a year. It's just weird. Just on those weeks for winter services, we just tell the customers like, hey, obviously there's snow on the ground, ice, we just skip it and we'll come back the next week. But hopefully for the majority of that time, you are able to do those winter services. But I think if you offset it with the commercial, I think you'll definitely be good. You'll be able to cover those expenses in the winter time.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds like a plan.
Yeah. And then on the flip side too, Cameron. So the other thing why commercial is also interesting, because in the busier months when you have your crews there like a lot, like in
Yeah.
June, July, August, or whenever like the busier season is, or even like spring when there's like a lot of grass to cut, the residential side of the business will probably help pay for a lot of the labor on the commercial side, because you're
Mm,
going to need way more people probably in the summer to get all the jobs done and the mows done and all that stuff. So now your payroll is going to go way up.
right.
But what's nice is you'll have the balance of both sectors, because on the residential side, typically you can charge more. And then if you're billing more frequently, you can take that money and then make the payroll during the busier seasons. And then come the off season, it kind of reverse supports each other. So in the summer, in the busy season, residential will help keep things going. And
Right,
then in
right,
the
right.
winter and in slow season, the commercial will help kind of balance that out. So I think that's a pretty good strategy.
Okay. Yeah, I definitely will put that into plan. Another thing is like, so we know, like, so I watch a lot of you guys like Mike Andes. I'm not sure if you're familiar with, like, I binge watch all your content. I don't know if you know about Lawn Care Millionaire, Jonathan Potoshnik. I watch like a lot of his stuff. So me and wifey, we both work. So I work at the school district and she works at the attorney general's. And we're kind of doing this on the side. Like we started this on the side. So when we started, it was spring rush last year, right? It was mainly me and her. And so we were doing all the work, and then we were getting more work. So when we had those 24, when we had like the 20 clients, then I had hired somebody to take over. And so that's where I had lost clients, was when I had hired the dude, the level of work came down, and then I had lost those 5 yards or whatever it was. And so a question I have is, how do you, I know like everybody's 80% will do, to my 100% or whatever the saying, how the saying goes. But how do I kind of vet the people that I'm hiring? It's tough for me because I'm working a 9 to 5. And so, and I know there's other people out there doing it, but I'm trying to figure out, like, I can't go out and triple check your work all the time. Like I'm just not at that point yet. And how do I kind of vet the people that I hire to know, like, okay, they're gonna do a good job, or maybe they just don't have a skill.
Off the top of my head, there's 3 components to this question. Number one, you got to pay them decently well. I see a lot of guys that are just getting started hiring part-time people, and they're paying like $2 to $3 less than what every other company is doing because they're just not comfortable yet with paying somebody really well. But I will tell you that $3 or $4 difference is the caliber of a whole different type of employee. So I would, in fact, be willing to pay $2 or $3 more than all my competitors to get the A player that I can trust and count on, because he's not going to lose those 5 lawns. In fact, he's probably going to get you 5. He's probably going to gain you 5 lawns by putting out door hangers in between lawns, because he's that type of employee. So I'm willing to spend more, right? That's one component. You got to pay them well. The other component, you said vetting them. So one of the key components of hiring that we do is when we are hiring people, we do reference checks very diligently. So when we give them the application, the job application, we tell them, hey, when you put your references down, I don't want your brother, sister, friend, cousin, neighbor on there. I'm looking for professional references, people that you have worked for, your supervisors, your managers, because that's who I'm going to call. And that's who is going to give me exactly the right temperature check of how you are as an employee. I don't want anybody else. I don't want to hear anybody else tell me how good of an employee you are. I want the manager of your last 3 previous employers, your direct line supervisor. They will give you all the information. They'll tell you if they're late. They'll tell you if they call off. They tell you if they're untrustworthy, or they'll tell you if they're amazing and they would hire them back tomorrow. That's what I want to hear. The glowing references. I'm going to hire that person. So that's number 2. The last component of this, Cameron, is holding the standard properly. So what that looks like is when you hire somebody, you have to create clear boundaries, expectations, what winning looks like in the game of trustworthy landscaping. And what that looks like is this. It's very simple. If you're hiring somebody full-time, 10 lawns a day, 5 days a week, that's 50 visits, right? Depends on how strict you want to be. I'd say anything more than 1 complaint out of that is unacceptable. If we get a call or an email that there's a problem from a customer 2 or more times in 1 week, that is not tolerated here at Trustworthy. Why? Because we're trustworthy. We're honest. We're reliable. We provide quality services. So when you onboard these new people, you have to create fireable offenses. So they are tracking that if you get 2 or more, the first time we're going to have a conversation. The second time it's going to go on paper. The third time you might not be here. And I'm just and I'm telling you this because I care about you and I want to see you be here long term, and I want to pay you well, and I want to succeed, and I want to grow this thing with you. But I also am not going to tolerate 3 or 4 complaints in a week and losing 5 customers in a couple of weeks or a month because we've worked too hard. My wife and I have worked too hard. You've worked too hard. You guys are trying to build something to help people, right? And so just creating clear boundaries on what is acceptable and what is unacceptable, and then holding the standard to that. And if there really is 2 or more complaints in a week, hey man, you got 2 complaints this week. 2 people emailed us that they were not happy. I'm going to send you back to the property. You need to blow the clippings off the back porch that you forgot to do. They sent in pictures. Okay. Right. I need you to be more attention to detail to this. I need to trust you. I need you to be able, I work a job. I already have a job. I don't need to do your job. I need you to do your job for you. So you have a job. I don't need to have two jobs, and I don't need to micromanage people. If you can't hold that and do what you're supposed to do on each lawn and blow the clippings off and shut the gates, like I said, you may not be here. And I'm coming in this as the nicest approach as possible because I care about you. And if you come in that way, instead of like trying to slam the hammer on people or yell at people, or which I did plenty of times in my early days, then you lose their respect and all that stuff. But I'd say those are the three components.
Okay. Yeah. So I'll implement that for sure.
And have them sign it, dude. Like when you hire them, just put it on paper. Hey, you are eligible to get 1 complaint a week. We understand there's always those, we'll call them Karens. We understand, you and I, Cameron, we sometimes once in a while have our own business as a business owner. Somebody will complain about our service, right? I'm okay with that. But anything more than, one a week is not tolerated here. And then just have them sign that. So that way there's really no questions about it. Like they sign the paper that if they get 2 or more multiple times, that it will and can lead to termination. And then just have them sign the document.
Yeah, we haven't implemented an employee handbook yet. There's like a lot of things we haven't done, and that we have done, like trucks wrapped. All of our branding is together. Like we got our door hangers, we got our business cards, but then there's just like stuff that we haven't done, which like a written business plan, an employee handbook. So there is stuff we got to work on before this upcoming spring rush. We did, however, I would say the hiring wasn't all bad this year. Like it was. We had like a horror story. This was just recently, maybe about 3 or 4 months ago. So. And like we're first year in business, so we're still learning everything, right? And so a company reached out to me. So I work at the district, and a company that we use at the district reached out to me, and they wanted some work from us. And it was a lot of work. It was like, some banks, a couple of like commercial sites. It was a lot of work. And so we're like, okay, great. We'll take this work on. We need to hire a few dudes. So we hired 2 guys. It went pretty well for the most part. It went pretty well, except for the one younger kid. He was like speeding or something and got a ticket and like hit this dude's truck. He hit the dude's truck. I talked to the guy. He was like, yeah, the guy was speeding, and I apologized. I said, anything I could do to, rectify this, and,
In the company vehicle?
In the company vehicle, yeah. So he got a ticket. He tore the dude's bumper straight off. I guess when he pulled up to stop, the dude said that he just gave him his information. Then they both jumped in the truck and just peeled out. And so like the state trooper called me, and it was like this big thing. I was at work. And so when I got that call, I was like, yo, first year in business. But, we just dealt with that. And then we did all of that work. And it was messed up because we had $10,000, right, saved up that we were going to pay ourselves, right? Because we haven't paid ourselves yet. We've just been reinvesting. We like literally haven't made a single dollar, And so we had $10,000. And so the guys, they did all the work for the company. And then we paid them payroll with the 10,000. And then the company stiffed us. And so we're owed like 25, right? And so they stiffed us. And I guess when I checked the reviews, I guess they do this to a lot of people, right? It's just like this company out here. And so we were out like 25K, but we weren't still in the hole, right? Because we had like, I'd say like a couple thousand left to continue paying our bills for up until this point. Yeah, it was just like, this is just me ranting. Like it was just crazy to go through all of that in the first year.
Yeah.
But
That's wild. Yeah, that's normal. Like any first year business, dude. I still remember we had an officer come in our house one time about a
wow,
team member, and I'm not gonna go too deep into the details, but I know
great.
exactly how you feel when you start getting calls from state troopers and officers and stuff, and so it can get a little wild. But I think you're approaching business correctly. You said that you had the truck wrap already done,
Yeah,
and like a lot of the branding and stuff like that. most people, they get hung up with like, let me create my LLC and let me like create a handbook and create a business plan and all this stuff, right? That
Right.
actually doesn't make money.
Yeah.
What makes money is the truck wrap, the door hangers, the branding, building a website, getting Google reviews, like the actionable sales stuff that
Mhm.
like get you more customers to then take the money and invest it into a website and like build out, a handbook and all that stuff. So I think your approach is smart. You're focusing on the more important things. It's okay if you don't have a handbook. I don't think we had a handbook for like the first maybe 2 years, dude. We were just winging it. I
Yeah.
remember giving my employee an envelope of cash with literally change in it to pay him. I was not using QuickBooks. I did not do direct deposits. I mean,
That's hilarious.
yeah, that's completely normal because we were focused on growing the business. And
Yeah.
so I think you're doing it right. All that other stuff will come into will come into play. You'll line it up once you start getting some phone calls like that with,
With the
accents and
trooper.
stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, we did. We so like it was good because I did my kind of due diligence, and I like binge watch yours, Mike Andy's, and Jonathan Potoshnik's, binge watch your guys' content, and I still do, but I never really did just get hung up, and like, I know a lot of people will get hung up before they even start. But first thing we did was like we implemented the branding, and it was great too that me and wifey have our full-time jobs to kind of support the family, and just kind of like supplement the business with our income first. And so like first thing we did was we implemented QuickBooks, and my wife, she does all of the booking and the finances, and so she's like, we got business cards, and we were running all of the gas through the business card, and just keeping everything kind of dialed in. Actually, like, she just did our taxes, and she said it was pretty easy because everything was kind of all in one place, like taken care of. That's one thing I did want to ask you, because I know you guys are opening up your second location, is how has it been to, because we like motivation a lot. How has it been for your life to create a successful business? How has that impacted your life?
Oof, that's a really good question. I think it's outside of like my wedding day and like marrying my wife and like meeting her. I think it's one of the most spiritual, fulfilling, foundational like things, and it aligns with my purpose because my at the core, my I believe why I'm here and why God put me here is to build and develop people. That's it. And so we're just using our company as a vehicle. It could be anything. We could have
Mhm.
done carpet cleaning. We could have done AC units, roofing, whatever. We're using the lawn businesses as a vehicle to build and develop people. And so it's amazing that our second location, we have a really good GM that's hungry, that wants to learn. He's growing. And like, I'm so excited for the impact that he's going to make on other people. And our third location that's going to be starting in about 12 months. Like, it's just like a compound effect that we're kind of building the foundation right now,
Mhm.
that like, it's like once like that, it's pretty much built. And then all of a sudden these next locations are just going to come much, much quicker. We're going to make way more impact. The fact that we could provide a career path for people to feed their families and be a positive light. Like, there's a lot of successful businesses out there, but
Mhm.
do they practice what they preach? Do they set a good example for their people? Like just with a lot of simple things. Like, we don't work on Sundays ever. I don't care how backed up we are. Like, I want to portray that to hundreds of people that are in our organization. Like, it's, I think, priceless. Outside of the wedding day and my wife and meeting her and everything, it's why I'm here. It's my purpose.
That's amazing. That's amazing, bro.
Yeah,
I think I have a question written down. I think I have a few.
that's good.
Let me see. Let me see. What would you think is easier? They're just broad questions. Residential or commercial, in terms of just one or the other, or do just both have their perks?
They both have their perks. In a weird way, if it were me, like, okay, which one's easier? I think they both can make a lot of money if you master it successfully. And the way that you master it successfully is by going all in on that one avenue. Just is what it is. We used to do commercial, but when you do both and you have the crews doing both, the residential is like you will get a complaint for one weed in the backyard, whereas commercial, nobody's walking out there in that field looking at the weed that's near the tree. They
Right.
don't care. Like, and it's not their home. Their home
Mm.
is their precious house that they live and they bought, their asset that they own, right? So it's two different mindsets. But if you build it properly, where you can divide the crews and then have those crews just doing those types of properties constantly and master that, I think it's great. Like that sounds like a great business, building it as a $3 million business. I think both have their perks. They're both good. I don't think there's a pro and con. There are pros and cons to both, but it's just whatever route that you want to take. I would say master it, study it, live and breathe it, and figure out the people that are doing it well, get in contact with them and see what they're doing, model what they're doing.
How do you, so the projects, because the $3 million goal is kind of based off of just kind of the trajectory in which, and well, also we didn't really market last year. It was all Nextdoor. So I got all of the clients off of Nextdoor. Actually, we have like 21 Google reviews, and they're all 5 stars. And so we come up in this one area, like on the first page. It's called Tukwila. So we didn't really market. I have a door hanger here, right? And I bought like, I want to say I bought maybe 1,000 or 1,500, right?
Mhm.
And it's really simple. I don't know if you can see it.
Yes.
It's
Nice.
just got like a little terrible card here, and then mowing, bed work, weeding, blowing, and that's it, right? Quality, affordable lawn care. It's really simple. It's got our little T on the back because that's our T. So I haven't even hung those out, right? I don't know how they're gonna do. I hung out maybe 25 one day. It was like, this ain't for me. You know, I wore the wrong boots. And I got one call, actually, though. I got one client from the door hanger, and she's great. Her name is, I think, I can't remember her name, Marsha. But
Mhm.
she gave me 3 other clients. She gave me 2 other clients, right? And
Yeah.
so I'm just like, do they work in my area? Do they not? I don't know. I've seen them, like I've seen other companies hand them out. I don't know how to feel about them. Should I go all in this spring rush? You know, my brother's 18, and I had him doing some of the. We had picked up an army base. I'm just going all over. We had picked up an army base, right? An army base from a lady. She has an army base, like an army reserve. It's like 5 acres. And so we had to buy a 0-turn mower for that. And so we invested in that. We bought the 0-turn, and then we bought the trailer for it. And that was specifically for that. Like within the season, it paid for the 0-turn. And then it just like was like profit. And so I had my little brother doing that, but he's gonna need a job soon. So should I have him go in and go all in on the door hangers? Because we haven't marketed. You know, we're doing pretty good organically, but I'm just wondering, like, if I was to market, would this go a lot faster?
Yeah. Well, let's do the numbers. So you put out 25 door hangers last year and you got
Hmm.
one client from it. That's a
Yeah,
4% return. So theoretically speaking, let's say you ordered, let's just say, well, I don't know how crazy you want to get with this. Let's say 3,000. I was going to say 5, but let's say 3,000. So if we ran the numbers on that and got a 4% return, I don't know if you can see the glare, it's
120.
120 customers residential.
Whoa.
If that's the return you're getting, which
Right.
you just tested it. Now, a lot of that is based on timing. You know, if you go and do 3,000 door hangers right now, you probably won't get a 4% return. If you go and do 3,000 door hangers when the grass is like starting to grow and like
Hmm.
you're smelling the smell of cut grass in the
Hmm.
spring, you might get a 3 or 4% return during that time. So I would say if your little brother's got, you know, probably a little smaller, shorter than you, and can get those walking steps in, I
Hmm.
would get 3 to 5,000 door hangers and say, hey man, for the next 4 weeks, you're gonna get all these out as much as possible, and you're gonna do this 4 to 6 hours a day. You're gonna walk probably 5 miles a day, but it's gonna pay off. And
Hmm.
so, yeah, I would lean into that. You could do a test batch. But again, it really depends on timing. You just want to make sure that you do it properly, because if you only get, let's say, like 500 door hangers or 1,000 to do it like a test batch, and I mean, he could do 500 door hangers in 2 days. He could
Hmm.
do 250 a day, easy. He could probably get 500 out in one day if they're like small houses. But the last thing you want to do is like, okay, let's put 500 out and wait and see if they work. And then a week goes by, you get a ton of calls, and it's like, oh snap, we got to order more. But like that whole week, you could have been kept doing more. So I think door hangers are cheap enough that they're typically like 7 to 15 cents a door hanger. I mean, that you can spend a couple $100 and really get, you know, a couple thousand door hangers and just have them ready. And even if like you put out 1,000 and they're not like crushing yet, well, maybe it's the timing. Let's maybe give it another couple weeks, and then let's do another 500 or 1,000 to test again. But yeah, I would definitely do the door hangers. Also, typically what I see, Cameron, is the first year in business is slow. It just kind of slow. Sounds like you got some traction on Nextdoor. That's awesome that one customer referred you. That means you guys are doing a good quality job. That's the best response as a business owner for people, like word of mouth. So the fact that you got 3 off of 1 is phenomenal. It tells me that your quality is top tier. Typically what I see in year 2, just like I think that there's a saying, the first year they creep, the second year with trees, right? The second year they leap or something. The first year they creep, the second year they leap. That's what I see with businesses. First year, people kind of are like, oh, well, this is new. And then all of a sudden they start to see the trucks more. And then really for the last 6 to 12 months, they should have been seeing your wrap now, and they're kind of getting more acclimated. And then year 2 is when it leaps. It's like they start calling you. They've seen your truck once or twice before. They see your door hanger once or twice now. And it's like, that's where you start getting a ton of traction. So I think this year is going to be pretty big for you. And if you can lean into more of the door hangers, I think that will only help.
Okay. That sounds good. That sounds like a plan. Okay, well, let me see here. What do we got?
I got like maybe 5 more minutes, maybe 6 more minutes. Any questions you got, I'm here for you.
What do you think is something to look forward to going into this upcoming spring rush? What would the door hangers is a good thing. Definitely implement a employee handbook, you know, within the year. What would you say I could do to kind of not propel, but okay, so it's tough because the projects, see, that's where I keep getting hung up, is the projects.
What are you getting
How do you
projects for?
Just because like we put out a lot of bids, right? Because we're certified. So we've put out a lot of bids. But me and wife here are working with this lady who's like sole sourcing us. So 2 of our bids have been accepted, but we don't know when the work is going to start. These are like small jobs. They're like 15 to 20K, like gross. And so it's like a couple hundred plants of planting. It's tough because we know the spring rush is going to hit. And when it hits, it's like it consumes everything, you know? And so, but then the projects are going to come up too. Like but we don't know when they're going to come up, because it's kind of like, you know, with like the government projects, like they move slow, it feels like. And so we're kind of just in like a pickle of one, how are we going to hire if the spring rush and the projects come at the same time?
Yeah, this is one of the biggest challenges, and this is a great question, Cameron. This right here, for people that are still watching on this, when they're watching this video, is phenomenal. The projects will consume you in the spring rush, and you will make a lot of money. And in the beginning, as growing a business, that's kind of a good thing, because then you can take that money and go buy another truck, and you can go expand and get another employee or 2. Like you do need projects. However, what I would recommend highly is do not neglect the recurring work, the $40, $50, $60 lawn cuts every other week or every week, because that is what's going to, you sell them one time and you're there 25 visits for the rest of the year, and every season you retain them. So although the project is really nice and shiny and we can make 5, 10K like that tomorrow, and you need that to take that money and then go pour it into more door hangers or hire another person to hand them out, but do your absolute best to prioritize the recurring work during the spring rush, because that's what's going to pay your bills in December, January, and February when you go to winter services and all that stuff. So if possible, see if you can move the projects, especially the $10, $15, $20,000 projects. They don't need to be done next week. They don't. They can typically wait. You can push those off 2 to 4 weeks out maybe 6 weeks. You just say, hey, look, we're pretty booked for the next 2 to 3 weeks. We can get there on that third or fourth week for you and get this taken care of. On a $10, $15, $20,000 projects, that's typically okay. Now, if you're going to lose the contract over it because you can't get it done in the next 2 weeks, then maybe try to squeeze them in a little bit sooner. But most of the time, if it's large projects, you can push out a few weeks, so that because the people that are calling you for the recurring work, the mowing and the recurring bush trimming and de-weeding, they can't wait 3 weeks. They can't wait 3 to 4 weeks to get their lawn mowed. If you can't do it in the next 3 days, they're calling somebody else, and you're going to lose that. And I love recurring work, dude, because it's just amazing when you go into the new season and the new year, whatever you like, let's say all of your work last year was recurring work, 75,000 roughly, right? Or you said 55, whatever. We'll just say 75. This year, guess what you start with? 75,000. You don't have to go out and sell anything extra. You already starting with that base. And it's the same thing at 500,000. It's the same thing at 1 million. It's the same thing at 3 million. That you don't have to grind and go sell and put out. Like, you're already going into the year with the revenue that you had last year, as long as you do a good job and don't lose the customers. That's why I love recurring work. So there's a balance there. Just try to balance the projects is kind of what I'm saying.
Okay. Well, thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Appreciate this opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Hey, I really appreciate you jumping on. You had really, really good questions. I think you and your wife are absolutely going to crush it, dude. And the fact that you have your 3-year game plan already set identifies that is the direction you're going. Because most people, they don't know that path, right? And so I think you're thinking about it right. Sales first over everything. That is what will get you the money to fix all the problems. You have bad employees, or you have employees that are getting in accidents. The solution is to get more sales. Why? If you can get more sales and land more projects and get more jobs, you'll get more money to pay better people.
Okay.
It's the lifeblood of the business, and if you get more sales, it will fix 99% of the problems in the business. Yeah, man. Keep up the good work. You're absolutely going to crush it. Lean into those door hangers this spring, and you'll definitely crush. Year 2, man, is the big leap. So be ready.
Appreciate that.
You're going to be working
a
lot this spring. So,
all right, now take care now.